Want to take 3 deep breaths together?
Yes.
All right. Make sure you're sitting in a nice position for grounding.
Mm-hmm.
Get your turtley earthways in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Turtles are amazing creatures, you know.
I made friends with one. Actually, 2. You're one of them.
Way better than praying mantises.
There you go with that internalized superiority complex again.
In fact, I think they eat praying mantises.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Well, here we are. In the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of many pandemics, epidemics, etc. Election cycles, rebirthing and renewal cycles, personal growth, and social awareness that may be all-time highs, depending on who you are. I am in Colorado Springs, Colorado. No, I'm not. I'm in Grand Junction, Colorado. I was in Colorado Springs. And traveling in my new life, of living in a van with my partner, who is also new to me. Just a couple months ago we met, and here we are. And just a couple months ago, or less actually now, so I guess it's only about 2.5 weeks removed that I last saw you, Hakima, in Kansas City on my way out. And you are in your own pathway of renewal right now with many things that I will let you speak to. I will not call them in or out, but I know them. And I love your ability to mirror me in many ways. And that might be the best part of our relationship, I think, is the interesting nature of mirroring each other through our non-binary views of the world, or at least desires, ideals. I don't know. I can't speak for you on that fully, but I know that we both desire to liberate one another from our own ways of being stuck, and utilizing our privileges and experiences to enhance the experience for one another is done often through mirroring, whether that's my impression of you around a pool back in 2018, or your insistence that I'm a praying mantis and a hipster, and that truth as well that rings for me in those statements, whatever it may be. And so we are here now in our intentionality, coming together to express our relationship with one another and to the world, to anyone who might find that of use and inspiration, or whatever else comes, saying that we will take on whatever comes our way because we trust our relationship to withhold, or withstand rather, anything. And choosing that vulnerability is not necessarily easy, but it is a practice. And here we are again doing that. So I thank you for trusting me and engaging me and loving me and understanding me. I love you.
You're welcome, and I love you. And you're right. That takes, what you're describing takes an incredible amount of trust. A level of trust I wasn't even sure that I could conjure up anymore. You know, as I'm coming to the end, the very close end of a 30-year marriage, and have my date set for divorce court that's coming up very soon, and I'm just eager and excited for the end of one thing, and then to sort of look forward to the beginning of another, whatever that might be. I don't know what it'll be, but I'm excited for it, whatever it is. And your the word you used was renewal, and I definitely feel like I am in a state of renewal. So much about where I am right now is about getting rid of the old to make space for the new.
Yes.
I feel like I've done that in many ways in my life. Um, you know, exiting a marriage is definitely about that.
Yeah.
And as I do these deep dives, these explorations, that I've contemplated my need for solitude and silence. And this year, since there happens to be a pandemic going on, I've gotten it. I've actually gotten all the silence and solitude I crave, and I love it. I have loved every bit, every moment of it, and been deeply grateful for this time to really examine who I am, what it is I believe, because that sort of creates the culmination of who I am, is based on my beliefs. And a lot of my beliefs need to be re examined. And not very many of them are going to make the cut. Not only am I right now dealing with my own internalized racialized inferiority, I'm also dealing with my own very internalized sexism and my own internalized homophobia and my own internalized ableism.
Right.
All of that is up for fair game. All of that has got to be examined, cross examined, and if it's
Mm.
found wanting, it needs to go.
Right.
And what will I bring in to take its place? I'm not entirely sure yet,
Mm.
but it'll be something, and it'll be something good and wonderful. I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
So there's all this exploration going on and all these unanswered questions, but they don't that doesn't make me anxious. It makes me excited.
Yeah. Would you say, because I would say, that our relationship has really aided in the ability to uh, remove barriers and blocks to relationship within myself and with other folks? I mean, in this relationship, um, and given me hope. It's absolutely, absolutely given me hope that I can do this in my own life in any way I choose to, because you mirror me in that too. So I know you do it. I don't know how conscious or what you would say about like the kind of template maybe we've created with one another, of like the ability to let go of, for instance, the societal constructs that we should or should not have an intimate relationship as anything, as friends, as business
Right,
partners,
right. We
even
shouldn't be.
entertaining. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the idea that sex or intimacy are synonymous,
Yeah.
and that we cannot experience one without the other, or that we should only experience a certain level or only be open to a certain level with one another, are things that I know you and I have explored, both from a outside looking in, what does the world say about this, from an inside looking out, what do I say about this or want, and from one another and asking, what do you want, how do you feel? And really effort has been put in our relationship to try and be honest on every level we can be, with one another, ourselves, and with what we see being represented in the world.
Yeah. I think you really have helped to draw that out of me. I'm actually really grateful to you for that. I mean, there's a time in the beginning of our relationship when you talked about thinking in the binary, and I would think, what the hell are they talking about? And now I recognize binary thinking in myself all the time. And I stop and I challenge it. Uh, and I ask myself, a really useful question for this journey of renewal is why? Why does it have to be that way? Why do you have to do it that way? Why is that the norm? Why do you have to accept that? Why do you think that's the truth? Why? So it's like becoming a toddler again, where they question
Mm-hmm.
everything about the world. I'm questioning everything about the world, and it was my relationship with you that sort of kicked that door open, or at least cracked it open, and I kicked it in the rest of the way.
Yeah,
But
I'm glad you give yourself
by
credit.
but by you asserting uh, your non-binary status, by asking to be referred to as they and them, it really challenged me. And so that, none of that was came natural to me. I'm sure you noticed how awkward it was for me in the beginning. So I wanted to accept who you said you were, and be respectful uh, of who you said you were, because that reflected my values at the time, that I wanted to receive people where they were at and believe them when they said who they were, and just sort of go from there.
Mm.
But interacting with you uh, beyond, just the superficial level, when you were really consistent and true to your values of, I don't know what to call it, non maleness, was really useful for me, because when you didn't behave toward me in stereotypically male ways, then it forced me to evaluate how I responded back to you. And it could not be in stereotypical female ways. So your non binary identity forced me to question what my female identified identity really meant, because I couldn't just respond to you in stereotypical ways, because you weren't responding to me in stereotypical ways. And it really challenged me and really made me think about why I behave the way I do in the context of relationship, and how I find and fall into stereotypically female ways of being, and if that really reflected who I was, number one, and two, how I wanted to be. It just made me question everything. And
Mm.
then after that fell away, other things began to fall away, and I began to question other things.
Yeah. I'm curious about what you would define the binary as, or binary thinking as. Could you do that for
Oh,
me?
well, I'm just thinking male, female in this case.
Yeah, but I'm curious because I know you think about it more than that, and I think a lot of people listening will not know so much about what binary thinking is beyond like male female gender structures, because that's typically how it's codified. And I wonder what you would say on your journey right now with binary thinking is also binary thinking, not just gender. Because I know you think about it.
Right,
I'm not trying to
right. It's
lead you to
not
any one
just
place.
right. It's not just gender for sure, but that's the place where I struggled with it first. And
Sure.
and then, but it's just the black white thinking. A thing is one thing, or it's opposite, or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And it eliminates all the amazing possibilities in and around those two possibilities. If a thing can only be one thing or its opposite, then you miss the entire array of other
Mm-hmm.
options.
Mm-hmm.
Is how I would describe it. And so rejecting the binary has really opened my mind and my being to, in my mind's eye to see all those other possibilities around me that were not possibilities before because they didn't come into consideration.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. I would say that I like to think of all things as like a universe, like in the same way that the universe is always expanding and we don't know where it ends, and we also don't have a beginning point necessarily for it. We have a idea, and like our solar system is our perspective, and the Earth is from where we look at the universe. But even within that, we're not the center. We are the center of our own experience, but we are not the center of the universe, nor our galaxy, nor our solar system. And so I like to
Right.
think about thinking in that way, because that's a very universal way to talk about it, which is, I think, why that word universal gets used sometimes, is because it's like literally expansive and conceptually expansive at the same time. So, what would you say are your recent discoveries about yourself within binary structures of thinking? I mean, I know you definitely have done the work. This is your path, and our relationship has been a catalyst for both of us. So I appreciate you taking ownership of that. Like, you're choosing to do the things, and my relationship with you has helped, do those things, or helped you open. And we both enjoy traveling, and I am now full-time traveling at this moment. Like, this is my now life. Um, Even though I was always leaning more and more into this direction of living on the road, and being in many places, uh, and just pursuing myself within that. Um, you and I took our trip out west this past August through 15th of September for 2 weeks, and obviously this is our continuation of the kind of podcast that we did on YouTube. Um, and you were really affected by that experience, and I was really affected by that experience. And our whole intention with the podcast was just to kind of document our experience in semi real time, with not too much space for reflection. So we recorded those episodes pretty much in the moment and talked about the days prior. And now, we've had about a month and a half since we returned from our trip, and now I am kind of retracing our steps in a backwards way. Um, I went to Colorado first, which was our last stop, and then I'm going back to probably Boulder, Utah, which is our second to last stop. Actually, I'm even really close to Mesa, which was our actual second to last stop. So it's ironic and interesting to be retracing our steps right now for me, in a literal sense, and now figuratively, with this conversation. So that's just me adding a little bit of context to my question of how have you recently been reflecting on your own experience? Because I know me leaving Kansas City as well has been a process for you to reflect. And you have been really strong in showing up in that process of grief and love and support for our friendship and need. You've been probably the most explicit in our relationship that I think you've been about your needs. Very clearly stating things about, wanting a phone call, or, needing X thing from me for our business or otherwise. So I know that might be a lot, but I know we'll find our way through the conversation. So the question is, what lately have you been processing about your own identity? Your own identity that has been catalyzed by our relationship of non-binary thinking?
Oh, what a great question, because there's been so much. So I I've been excited, believe it or not, to adjust to not having your physical presence here. because
Yeah,
I'd
absolutely.
really gotten used to that and really enjoyed that. I always enjoy being in your presence, always enjoy your company. But I can look with great anticipation and excitement on what it means to maintain the integrity and the intensity of our relationship without your physical presence.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have to be creative with that. We have to be intentional about that. So I'm kind of excited for the next phase of our relationship that won't involve your physical presence here because you're out
Mm-hmm.
in the world doing exciting things for yourself, and I'm really pleased and happy for you for that. And carrying on,
My
you
legacy.
know, no, shut up. Being in relationship and what that means, I don't think we're just gonna like drift apart. I think we're gonna go on being close friends, and even if that's going to uh, take on a different shape and form. So
Right.
I'm kind of excited about that actually. And um, and of course, that opens up space
Mm-hmm.
in my life for other relationships um, that I may want to deepen or extend, and I'm excited about that too. Um, so there's a lot going on. There's me wanting to deepen my own relationship with my own self, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing that. I kind of want to date myself. I want to have this
Yeah.
love affair with myself
Yes.
and finding out who Hakima really is apart from all those embedded beliefs that I'm now really, really re-examining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
It's like examining a codependent relationship with yourself.
yeah, yeah. So who am I apart from those beliefs? Apart from those beliefs that I learned from the church, which I'm now rejecting. Beliefs about who I am as a Black woman and what that means, and what of that I want to keep, and what of that I want to set aside. Who I am as an elder, and what
Right.
is possible, and how do I see my role now, and what does that mean for my life going forward, to um, whatever the future holds for me. And I also think about myself as a romantic partner. And, I left my marriage physically 4 years ago. I moved out and I haven't dated in those 4 years. Um,
Mm.
I've preferred to spend the time working on myself and, becoming the kind of person uh, who would be ready for the kind of partnership that I say that I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I still very much feel like I'm in that process, and I'm content to keep doing my self work, to throwing myself into that self love affair, um, and deepening my discovery of who I am and what I want with my life. And we had some experiences together when we were out in LA that really fueled one of the bigger changes that I'm embroiled in the middle of.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you remember what
Are you
events I'm
referring
talking
to
about.
the? I mean, we spent what 6 days in LA? Yeah.
We spent 6 days in LA. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We were hanging out with folks, and that sounds even weird for me to say, especially knowing that other folks are going to listen to this and it's COVID, and hanging out with folks feels, unfortunately, but truthfully, strange. But we did. We hung out
Well,
with folks in a,
you just a very few at a time. So I'm usually quick to say that. I think on the whole trip, we only had one event where I'd say, you know, that a lot of people were there. And even then, it was, about a dozen or so. But our gatherings were pretty small for the most
yeah,
part.
yeah, they were. Um, but but that being said, so I mean, we experienced quite a bit in LA, and it was the midpoint of our trip. And I think the event that you are really responding to that affected you deeply was when we were at our Airbnb entertaining one of the folks um, that you introduced to me, and I said I wanted to meet, which is Miss Ashley Wright. And if I'm on track with that, I saw Miss Ashley Wright in a GIF post that is of a uh, mama, it seems, with a baby strapped to her chest, doing a spin around a stripper pole and doing a meditative pose in that and holding the baby. And I just was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I love this image. And I could just keep watching it. I sent it to you, and you were like, I know who that is. And I was like, what? And you were like, yeah, you want to meet her? And I was like,
That's
what?
exactly what I said. I said, I
Yeah.
know this person. Do you want to meet her?
And this was months and months ago, I think. I don't even know how
Oh, it
long
was
ago that
last
was.
year. It was
Yeah.
last year because we went to LA together this January,
I remember
and
thinking you told me
and
this
we
after
didn't.
LA, and I was like, you didn't tell me about this person when we went to LA? Like, well, I was there, and now you're asking me if I want to meet him? Yes, I want to meet him. So, I mean, that was last February. So that was about,
Yeah,
pretty much about 6 months from the time that we ended up going to LA, give or take.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, so Miss Ashley Wright, this amazing person, we had an amazing time getting together, and I was so pleased to meet Ashley and to have a great connection with all three of us. So, is that what you're talking about? Because we had
Oh
a pretty
yeah,
deep
that was
dive.
like the best night, which I hesitate to say because I had some wonderful
We had a lot of
experiences
great
in
times.
LA with all my friends in LA whom I love dearly. So this is no slight to them, but
Caveat.
that particular evening will always remain deeply deeply meaningful to me. So what set things off was that I follow Ashley Wright. Met her several years ago through some common
Well,
LA
she
friends.
followed you first,
Oh, that's right. She did follow me first,
which
and
was,
then
I
started
was like,
following.
of course, when she told me the story of how she became your follower first. And then I was just like, of course, because Ashley's an influencer and, blogger and all that jazz, and has a ton of people following her life
Oh
journey. And
yeah,
I was just like, how appropriate that this huge follower person, huge follower count is actually following you first. That just makes
right.
sense for your
I
life.
know
It
it's
does.
totally ironic. It's totally
Yeah.
ironic.
But that's how your following works. And then you bring these kind of people into your life, it's part of your pull. You bring the people in.
Yeah, yeah. So I was excited. I was really excited to have you meet her face to face because I knew you two would hit it off. I knew you would love one another, and I knew you'd have so much in common. So I was really excited, and it really was just a near perfect evening. We had fantastic food. We had amazing conversation. We just enjoyed being in one another's company so much. Uh, and then we just really went there. It just became really intimate, really fast because that's the kind of people all three of us are. So it
Yeah,
was
we keep it
just
real.
it was just the perfect mix. And I had, because I've been following Ashley, I knew that for the past year or so, she had been dating women. And so I think that's what started our conversation, is that I asked her about that experience, and she began to tell the story of that whole situation, how it came about, that she was still dating women, and what her lessons learned were from that. And I was just intrigued by that, and that led me to sort of tell a little bit of my story. and and I said, you know, Ashley, I've always had this attraction to women. I've known about it since I was about 10 or 12. And, you know, in fact, for the past 6 years, there was this woman who I have felt very deep affection for, and would have happily seen that relationship move to the next level had that individual been willing to do so. And I remember her response to me was that, "Oh, you're gay." Do you remember that moment, Shym?
Yeah, I think she said, if I remember correctly, she said, "Oh, Mama Hakima's gay." And she said it in this way that was so like jovial and also like kind of like of course you are like welcome, you know, like I'm so happy you're here, like of course.
And it bounced off me like it was totally new, because even though in my own head I'd known, of course, about my attraction for women since my prepubescent years. And then I even went through a moment in my 30s where I said to myself, okay, this is who I am. I also am attracted to women. I had never said the words to myself, Hakima, you're gay. I had never used that term. I had never thought that term. And even though it seems really bizarre to it, even if it sounds bizarre to my own ears, that I knew I was attracted to women, but I didn't equate that to being gay until Ashley Wright said, "Oh, you're gay." And it sort of bounced off my head, and then it came back. It ricocheted, came back, and started seeping in. And all that night, that thought kept coming back to me, even in my dreams, like, oh, yeah, I'm gay. I'm gay. I'm gay. And by next morning, you know, it had fully penetrated my thought pattern. And I thought, well, duh, of course, I'm gay. So that's it. I'm gay.
Yeah. How's that how's that been since then? Why do you um why do you want to talk about it?
Because it reflects my new reality. I mean, it's kind of like asking me when I got my new name, why do you want to be
Right.
called by your new name? But duh,
Mm.
because it's my name now. And being gay is my reality now.
Would you say
And
that because with the name change, I feel like it's also a little misleading because it wasn't exactly how it sounds. Now you're telling it of like it wasn't a like a like a light switch. You know, it wasn't like okay, one day you are you know your government name and the next you are a new given spiritual name. You know, it was a process.
it was a
and and
process and a
and
journey.
similarly, I mean, like it's not like one day you're like, okay, yesterday I was straight, now I'm gay, you know, because like we're coming back to a little bit of the binary thinking, I think, of
Right,
like
right, right. You're
it's not
right.
like that. And it's kind of important that I think we tell our stories in more nuance, and you have nuanced stories with both of those things.
Right. And I love telling the story of my name change, but that's a long story unto itself. But you're right. My being gay is a 58-year journey.
Right.
It's a 58-year journey, which is a very long journey, a long story to tell. And I wasn't kidding myself or lying to myself. I was very honest with myself and direct with myself about my attraction to women without um, without affixing a label to it or ever having need to or and it was the label, if that's the right term, of gay that is new, not who I am or how I'm being me, that is new.
Yeah. So that opens up a really great, interesting conversation to me about like how labels can be a liberatory experience and not a confining experience. Because I know as a non-binary human, I get a lot of people, wondering if, and this is the same with my name change, actually, a lot of people wondering like, well, why not? Are you just rejecting maleness? Are you saying no to another thing and just deciding to go with another thing? Kind of like my name, people are like, well, what's wrong with your government name? Like, what's wrong with that? Like, you just didn't like it? It's a good name. Those kind of questions come a lot from me, from other people. And to me, I'm not rejecting anything by identifying as myself. I am just identifying more clearly who I am in my own life. And a label is useful to speak to that for other people, even if that's a brand new label. And I think that's why our non-binary relationship and my non-binary humanness is what kind of helped us. We needed vocabulary for that. So I'm kind of curious, what is the vocabulary of your experience that is important to share with others? How do you want to share yourself with others in this way? And essentially I'm asking, what does gay mean to you right now?
it it has its usefulness, but on the other hand, it doesn't mean a whole lot because I know I'm still me. So,
Right.
folks, I have spent this month and a half since we returned from LA, because we actually had this conversation with Ashley Wright our last night in LA. We spent 6 days
Mm-hmm.
there, but on the last night was when we entertained Ashley. And so the next morning, when I woke up my gay self, we hit the road and headed back home.
When you got
And
gay, I think is how
I
Ashley likes to joke about
suddenly
it.
got gay in
All
LA.
right. Just suddenly you got it. You went to the store, you bought it. I don't know, some kind of got had.
And I've spent that month and a half since telling everyone that I wanted to tell in person, although I'm sure I've forgotten some people. I'm not saying that was an exhaustive list, but
You're
everyone
not a
who I
perfect
felt it,
person.
right, everyone who I felt it was important for me to tell face to face, I've told. So,
Yeah.
and those were mostly family members and a few
Mm-hmm.
friends, but mostly family. I just wanted family to hear it from me, and I did that too. So it was like my own coming out, what they call coming out, and uh, it was beautiful and lovely, and I was met with a lot of really positive affirmations, how
What
I
did you
was
tell
loved
people?
and accepted. I just said I'm gay. I said it as simply and as say there's something I want you to know. I'm gay, and I'd say it as simply and as straightforward as that. And and like I said, every time got affirmations of love and acceptance and warmth. It was really beautiful and lovely. A couple of times, maybe 3 or 4 times, I was countered with, well, don't you mean you're bisexual, or don't you mean you're lesbian? But I felt like I had chosen the vocabulary that was important to me,
Mm-hmm.
and that was gay.
Yeah.
But I did feel the pressure that some people wanted to press me into the bisexual mode or the lesbian mode because that, I suppose, that felt comfortable to them. But I felt
Yeah.
like I had very purposefully chosen my vocabulary around it, uh, and I'm still figuring out what this all means and how it will translate in my life, because at this point I've never dated a woman.
Right.
That has not been an experience for me. And
You've
I'm
also
also
not dated too much in general, if we're really looking at it.
well, in the last 4 years I haven't dated at all. But I'm not saying I will never date a man. That is not what this means. um, I think I might feel hard pressed to find a male bodied person that would meet the considerable standards I set for romantic partnership, but it's entirely possible, and I wouldn't reject that. In general, I feel like, and this isn't a direct consequence of my relationship with you, Sham, but what I feel overall is that I'm open, that it's the quality of the person that I'm looking for, not the packaging that they come in.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so while there's a part of me that very much looks forward to dating women, or knowing relationships with women on that level, I really do look forward to that. Uh, I want the quality of all my relationships to deepen and to
Hmm.
improve, and for me to exercise greater vulnerability, which I've been able to do with you. Uh, I want that for more of my relationships, for all of my
Hmm.
relationships.
Yeah.
And, to sort of remove the artificial boundaries from all my relationships.
Yeah. Which means you first have to remove them from yourself.
Right,
Or maybe not first, but that has to be done, or else you got
right,
no ground to stand on in those relationships that may bring that to you.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited for whatever is coming my way,
Yeah.
in whatever form that it comes.
Yeah.
So
I
so
would say
I just
I
feel an
think you
openness.
yeah, I think you and I have the same, or like pretty mirrored experiences on that level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've talked about it at one point or another, because I mean, you've asked me a ton of questions about my identity, which has been wonderful for me, because you ask them out of love, not out of judgment, um, but out of curiosity to learn more about my experience. And that challenges me to find words that feel good for my experience and describe it, and including the words I don't know, or I'm not sure, or that could change, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They really help liberate myself in the process. And I think, I always use, and I don't know if you utilized this before we met or not, but we use it together now, that we are involved in the process of becoming, not
Mm-hmm.
arrival. We don't always say not arrival, but I think that's truth. It's like I'm arriving in this moment, in this moment, in this moment, in this moment, as many moments as there may be in the expanse of time. we we are becoming and committed to that process. And you and I have both bonded over like not caring so much about what the package looks like of the people that we interact with, but much more about the quality, the emotional vulnerability, the reciprocity, the ability to be mirrored in our relationships is what creates intimacy, and our ability to allow that as well. And I think that's what we've kind of shown each other. And we can define that with words like demisexual, which is attraction to people emotionally first, or pansexual, which is attraction to all people, sexually, and gay. We can use that in any kind of umbrella or specific way we like to. And yeah, and I think we really bond over that. And I think I'm not trying to put that on anybody else. It's like, if you identify with those things or your own versions of them, then great. And I think you and I are just lucky to have found each other and to have these kinds of conversations that are really reciprocal. You helped me in so many ways become who I am by challenging yourself, and by also receiving, challenging yourself to receive, and challenging me to receive, challenging me to accept your love, to accept your expressions of love. And I have become a better person for it. And I think the LA trip and this conversation are all a reflection of that.
Yes, that's the vocabulary I would use to describe the impact of our relationship to this point, is that I feel expanded
Mm-hmm.
in a way I haven't felt in a very long time. That there are all these possibilities, and I can just barely see to the edge of the horizon, but I know there's all these amazing things just over that horizon, and I'm running to get there because I can't wait to embrace it and
Yeah.
see and be and experience all that it is. So it's it's just coming to me. And uh even though I have difficulties in my life, tomorrow is the 3-year anniversary of my baby sister's death from breast cancer. And and there's a worldwide pandemic going on that greatly impacts my community and the work that I do. And I'm smack dab in the middle of pursuing a PhD and those academic challenges. I have these stressors in my life, and yet overall, I just feel this sense of expandedness, this sense of excitement, this sense of wonderment, and that I just want to know more, I want to do more, I want to be more.
Mm.
Uh, I want to have deeper and richer relationships with the people in my life. I'm still a loner. I'm still who I am. I don't feel a need to have my life inundated with people, but I'm looking for quality, not quantity. But
Yeah.
I've always been that way. But it's like, if you and I are a possibility, what else is a possibility?
True. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, for me, definitely reflected on every level, on relationship level, on the um, levels of like myself to myself. I guess, yeah, you got myself to myself to others, and myself to the world. I think I've
Yeah,
expanded on every level in that way.
yeah, yeah. Oh, Shym, this has been a fantastic conversation.
Never second guess it. We always do. It's true. We're lucky that we are words people. I think, everyone's lucky that
Yes,
they're their own person, and I'm glad to have found you to be more of me with. And words are
yes.
such an important part of me, and you are also in that place. So I'm just so appreciative to even be able to have such clarity in conversation with somebody about deep things.
Yeah, I love my love of words, and I'd love to have someone to share that with.
Yeah.
That's the quickest way to lose my interest, is to not be a conversationalist.
Right.
so so I totally appreciate that about you too, and that we're living experiences that demand new vocabulary, and as
Yeah,
people who love words, we can create that vocabulary for ourselves.
that's right. Yeah, well, I will wrap it up. I really appreciate you. I love you even if you're gay. Not how God made us, but whatever.
Sam, I think I lost you.
Oh, that's okay. I just said I love you even if you're gay. You there? Can you hear me? Hello?
I'm
Can you hear me?
here. Yes, lost you for
Oh,
about
okay.
5 seconds there.
Okay. I just
You
said for the
said,
third
I'll
time.
wrap it up.
Yeah.
I'll wrap
All I
it up
wanted to say
was
is
the
that I
last I
love
heard.
you even if you're gay.
Oh, that's awfully big-hearted of you, Shym.
I'm making a lot of room in my heart for you, and it's
Yeah,
a wonderful thing. So I'll accept you
clearly.
being gay.
I thank you for
Yes.
being so magnanimous. Oh, and I love you, Shym. Whoever, however you are,
Whenever, all day,
whenever,
all night.
whatever. Yeah.
Well, in tradition, I think it's important that we go ahead and end this with your classic freestyle
Oh
rap.
my God, Shym. I totally forgot about that. Damn it. Oh, what can I say? It's a beautiful day to wake up gay and go out and play. Oh,
Love it.
Shym. Oh, thanks for this conversation.
Thank you.